Hey guys, I'm Martin Harris. You can see me on Superman, now in theaters worldwide. But you may remember me from Stranger Things, Young Sheldon, Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, The Staircase, and a couple other shows and films like Amsterdam and Greyman. And I'm happy to talk to Jim on Jim Masters' show.
Hey, Martin, that was
Hello,
fantastic.
hello.
I, I love that intro. Very nice, my friend. I should have
Thank
you
you.
intro all my episodes.
Uh, let's do it.
Let's do it, right? And you did it with that nice, deep voice as well. How are you, my friend, coming to us from Hollywood, Tinseltown, Los Angeles? How are you doing today?
Pretty good. Was battling a tiny little flu for last couple of days, but ready to go to San Diego for Comic Con tomorrow. And it's been almost 2 weeks since the movie's out. I'm very happy that most of the people that watched it liked it and kind of click with the message of the film, and that's a lot of fun.
How cool it is to be a part of the Superman franchise, huh? How did that all happen for you, Martin? Congratulations, too.
Thank you very much. I'll tell you the funny story about it. When I auditioned for it, I didn't know it was that film. I just finished doing, I think, Young Sheldon, the final season. I did a role on that. Then I also did another role on I think indie film that is about to come out next year. And I got the audition for a guest star on a TV show. And then last minute I got this audition. It was for a film called Genesis, and there was one scene, like one page of a scene, mainly what we can see in the scene with the Hulk girl. The My last scene in the film, part of it was the audition scene. So I went to Screen Actors Guild in Los Angeles, where I like to tape because they have a professional setup with a camera. For whatever reason, when I do a self tape, I like to do it in front of the camera. Still, I'm kind of old school than in front of the telephone or some other medium. I like to go show up, and then I have 30 minutes to tape it. So I was about 27 minutes into my time at the studio, 3 minutes left, where I finished taping for a TV show. And I'm like, so how much time we have left? And the guy, we have about like 2.5 minutes. Can I do like a test run? I tape something else like once or twice, and sure, we have 2.5 minutes. So I did this tape. Then I went back home and I watched it. I'm like, oh, it's not bad. Actually, kind of pretty good. I'm just gonna submit it. And and 2 weeks later, I found out that was for Superman, and I booked it. So I auditioned for this thing. It took me 2 minutes to do, and it landed me probably the biggest job of my life so far.
It really is cool. And tell everybody the role that you play in Superman.
So that's another interesting story, because when I auditioned for it, I didn't get too much information. I found out he's a general, or maybe not even that. He's an officer, and then he works for a president who is a tyrant. So I had a choice to make in a very short amount of time, and the instinct uh, kind of tells you to play it safe, like probably I assume a lot of actors auditioning for that role or similar role would do. So you play a guy who's tough, who is a military guy, and I kind of, coming back to the fact that I grew up in Eastern Europe in the 80s when it was still socialism. I kind of my knowledge also of history of that region, and it looked like this is kind of stylized in that direction, in the direction of a fictional Eastern European country. I decided I'm gonna play him tough on the surface, but scared, because this is the guy. It's like I was thinking about Stalin, Joseph Stalin, who won World War II in a way. Um, had some big battles where he didn't care how many people will die, and it was just the end result. And he was relying heavily on his generals, but he would kill them pretty easily if he didn't like something. So he killed a lot of his own officers, his own generals, He was a murderer to his own people. So I was thinking that this could be that type of a dynamic. So I have to be aware of that. So I taped it, and then of course all those things happened, and I went on set. First, I was supposed to be in two scenes. I think James added third scene a couple of days before filming, and we were in discussions not directly with James, but with his assistant. And then on a day, and they were saying before it's possible. They added me to two more scenes, the press conference scenes. So I played the Moravian general, who is the right hand of the Moravian president, who is, I would say, the main anti-hero of the film after Lex Luthor. He is in cahoots with Lex Luthor and creates this international conflict, which I de facto carry as his general. We invade for another country, and Superman puts stop to it, and that's how the film starts. And then there are things happening throughout the film. So yeah, I'm the head of the military of Moravia.
With the accent and with the demeanor and everything, I think it was absolutely perfect casting. And for you to pull and do research and pull from some of those other folks who have been leaders and sort of incorporate that into the body of the role. Do you do that a lot? Do you research and do you try to figure out the essence of who that person is before you take that role on in anything you do? Because you've been in so many incredible shows and television and film and so much more.
Thank you. Yeah, I do. I try. Sometimes it's hard when you get five self tapes to do in one day. Then it's more difficult. And sometimes we're just human. Sometimes there's just not that much information that you can find an angle, and you just go with an instinct, or you go with even a safe choice, which is never a good idea. It's always good to make a bold choice. And I reminded myself recently after watching Superman, because I'll tell you one thing: I didn't expect this to be such a big part of the story. I didn't expect the whole Moravia thing to be pretty much the main storyline of Superman. I thought it's going to be one of the side stories, and then there are other stories happening. Because judging from the trailers, and that was very smart on behalf of James and his people, they didn't reveal much from the Moravian angle, the Moravian storyline in the trailers. There was, a little bit about the war. You could see the kid with the flag calling for Superman, but it also kind of put people in the wrong mindset that this is just the beginning of the film, where actually it's not. It's the second half of the film, and the first war happens sort of off screen, because that's how the movie starts. It starts after Superman intervening in Moravia, but that's not the end of the storyline. That's the beginning of the storyline. So a lot of people felt this is the end, and not the beginning. So going back to your question, I was surprised how big this storyline was. And sometimes when you prepare for audition, prepare for a role, you don't really know. You don't get that much information, like how essential your role is, what it plays in the script, in the whole storyline. Sometimes if you audition for a lead, they do send you the full script, and then but often you don't. And in this case, I only got my sides, so I had to investigate a lot on my end. Like, what could it be? Like, how can I build something out of the information I have?
Absolutely. That's a great way to do it. You mentioned growing up in Eastern Europe. You grew up in the wonderful country of Poland. And I was mentioning some of the folks who've been on our show and some of the series we've celebrated here on the Jim Astor Show, one of which was MASH. And we had the wonderful Loretta Swit, who we just lost a couple of weeks ago, and she was fantastic. And you were mentioning to me that growing up there in Poland, some of the first shows that you got a chance to see on television were MASH and even Dynasty.
Yeah, the first show because communism ended like officially in 1989. I was 12 years old at that time. And as a matter of fact, I grew up mainly in Poland, but also in East Germany, because my father is a professor of history of arts, and he specialized in the arts of 17th and 16th century, mainly German one. Martin Luther related one. So we would spend time in East Germany for like 4 to 5 months every year between 85 and 89. I was actually in Berlin when the whole thing with the wall happened, locked in a hotel room because, of course, my parents didn't want us to go anywhere. When that was happening, you wouldn't know. We didn't know what will happen. It was not clear. It could have ended, bloody. It could have ended as a confrontation with the police. So we didn't know. So we stayed inside. But yeah, definitely first 12 years behind the Iron Curtain. That was quite an experience.
I can only imagine too. And you also were involved in sports journalism too, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. What was that like? You made that transition into acting.
Yeah, that's kind of the whole connecting point between I would say two different parts of my life. So when I was 15, I started a heavy metal band, like a progressive metal band, called Army of Darkness, and I thought this would be my life. I thought I found it. I know what I want to do in my life, and that was it. That was my dream. And then 3 years later, the band, nothing happened with the band. We couldn't agree on the music we want to play. Some of the guys were started getting inspired by grunge, which was more dirty sounds. I wanted to play more clean metallic sounds with the progressive rock kind of space. So we couldn't agree to what kind of music we want to play, and the band ceased to exist. So I didn't know what to do with my life, and the label that was initially interested in working with us, they offered me to write some reviews for them, for their purposes, for their promotional purposes. And I did that, and then I started writing for like a rock and roll magazine in Poland. I started working part-time for different radio stations, mainly in my hometown, but not only hometown. And I was doing a lot of that, going to different concerts, hanging out with musicians. It's just I couldn't really build a sufficient income out of doing that. So when I turned 19, I decided maybe I'll switch to sports because this is more of a regular job, which is still kind of fun. So I did that for 12 years in Poland, and I started coming to United States because I specialized in the NBA basketball. So I started coming to United States, first East Coast mainly. I covered the Chicago Bulls with Michael Jordan, like the final season, and then the Lakers with Kobe and Shaq. And I met Kobe. I became kind of distant friends with Kobe. And when I turned 30 and I started feeling that this is not for me what I'm doing, that I can keep doing that, but I don't think I'll have a fulfilling life. I would think like this. I made safe choices in my life. I remember I came to Los Angeles in 2007, and I took Kobe aside. We were speaking after the game they played against Seattle Supersonics. I remember till this day. That was November 2007, and Kevin Durant was playing his rookie season for the Seattle Supersonics. And I asked him, what should I do? Should I stick to what I have, to the life I have, which is a good life? It's a fun life and stable life, or should I go crazy and move to LA and go to acting school and see what's there for me? And he said, and remember, he looked into my eyes and he said, What is your heart telling you? I said, my heart is telling me to try. He said, always follow your heart. And then he told me a story about his childhood when kids were teasing him that because he was the son of a basketball player, that means that he'll never make it in basketball. And he did. So
He sure
that
did.
made me move here. And then he came back in another important moment in my life. At the end of 2019, I ran into him again at Staples Center. He came with his daughter Gianna. That was 3 weeks before he died. And he gave me a big hug and he said, I'm proud of you. And because I started acting, a little bit at that time. I didn't have that many credits, but I did few things. And I was doing some stand-up comedy still at that time. That's how I broke into acting and got my first agent, first manager. So we had this moment, and then 3 weeks later, he died, which was a complete shock to me. I didn't know what to do. Yeah, for a week, I was like really, really depressed. And then I realized what he was trying to tell me back in 2007. I only took half of it. I only took following your dreams. But there was another half to it. Once you do, you have to be like me. You have to do it 24/7 every day and focus on one thing. And I would still do other things. Even being in Los Angeles my first 5, 6 years, I would support myself by doing some sports reporting. I wrote 2 books about basketball that I published in Poland. So I was in a way not focused. And the results were partial because of that. But when I decided to finally give it 100% in 2020, the results came right away. There was a pandemic, sure, but 7 months into pandemic, I booked Amsterdam. Then a week later, Stranger Things. Then Better Call Saul, Staircase, Gray Man, and so on and so on. And I worked quite a bit, but that was the result of me finally understanding the message that came from the best mentor I ever had in my life.
It's really amazing, like I say, the amount of material that you've been a part of, television shows that are classic now and very beloved, and films as well. And having that career as an international sports writer, broadcaster, and author, that's like 2 decades doing that, covering the NBA games, like you said, and publishing those 2 acclaimed books on basketball. And what beautiful words for Kobe Bryant to say and to leave you with too. There's been another obsession or something else that you've been inspired by over the years too. When I was doing my research, you love classic films and James Bond thrillers and the work of Robert De Niro. And you began training as an actor, like you said, in the 30s, studying intensively at the Stella Adler Theater and the Beverly Hills Playhouse. So you've loved classic films, James Bond, and Robert De Niro, huh?
Yeah, my biggest heroes growing up, except of the fact that I didn't really start watching like I didn't start watching films like I do right now until my late 20s. But there were some films that I've watched religiously, and those films were Superman films and James Bond films. Those were 2 of my heroes. So I'm 1 out of 2 for now. But the goal is, of course, to get on James Bond movie at some point. I kind of had a little shot at the last one, at the last James Bond movie, and I'm kind of, between me and you, glad that's not the James Bond movie I ended up on. I feel like there is a better one coming. So yeah, I'm a huge fan. I'm a huge fan of James Bond movies. So there are some James Bond movies I've seen over 100 times, like Goldfinger, Live and Let Die, The Man with the Golden Gun. I was such a huge fan of Roger Moore, especially, that I remember when I was still living in Poland, he came, I think it was around 2005, 2006, to sign his book, or maybe 2007, maybe that was right before I left. He came to sign his book in a big bookstore in Warsaw, Poland. And I remember I had to go to do the work on something, some game or some other stuff. And I asked the person who was leading the conference if I can leave my copy of The Man with the Golden Gun, my DVD, and if there is a chance that he might, sign it. So I went back a few hours later. He not only signed it, he signed it with a personal dedication, and he signed it with a golden pen, the DVD copy of The Man with the Golden Gun. So I still have
Wow.
it. I still have it till this day.
Wow. You mentioned being a part of Stranger Things too. That must have been pretty cool to be a part of that.
Yeah, and it all started with Amsterdam, and that ties to Robert De Niro
Oh, Amsterdam.
that you
Yeah.
mentioned. You know, some of the jobs I got, some I didn't get. Some jobs I got through auditioning multiple times. There were some shows that I auditioned 20 times for, like NCIS Los Angeles, before I booked it. And then there is the Amsterdam story. That is the craziest story that ever happened to me. So I remember right before the pandemic that I did at first like a major blockbuster called Red Notice. It was literally right before the end of the pandemic. So when I went there for the last time to Atlanta, they flew me to Atlanta. I think it was like March 14th, 2020. I got a text message from a friend of mine when I was in a hotel in Atlanta, ready to leave the next morning back to LA. I got a text message that people are going crazy in there. They're going to all the stores and buying everything out, and there's no toilet paper anymore in Los Angeles. So the one thing I did, I took the all the toilet paper I could find in my hotel, and I just packed it into my baggage and flew into Los Angeles, and I
Was
used it
that
for the
you that
first.
did that? Now we know.
Yeah, now we know. Now we know.
Mr. Harris caused the shortage. It was all in a suitcase.
Yeah, I had to take it. I had to take it. That was my only hope.
That's it.
That's my only hope. So I did Red Notice, but then for seven, so I was on a high of doing that. But then with Dwayne The Rock Johnson, Ryan Reynolds, who was incredible on set, like the funniest person I've met in my entire life, and one of the kindest actors I've met too. Very very nice guy. I'm very happy for whatever he does. I'm always rooting for him because he's been one of the nicest people I've met in this business. 100%. And The Rock too. Actually, another funny wrinkle. Whoever was part of the cast and crew would find a bottle of tequila hers wardrobe after the day of shooting, because he would gift a bottle of his tequila to everyone working on that film. So for the next 7 months, nothing, right? And LA was completely shut down, so there's nothing going on. And I went to Atlanta to visit a friend of mine in January 2021. And while in Atlanta, it was a completely different world. It's literally different world. LA, everything closed, nobody outside. Atlanta, people in bars, everything happening like almost without restrictions. So that was very refreshing. And I got like a boost of good energy. I remember I flew back to LA, and the next day I'm getting a phone call. Listen, the production is back. I know that you speak German. We need some help with coaching in German. Would you be open to it, to go on set and do some German coaching? So I went on set. They didn't mention what project it is. It had, same with Superman. It had like a different name, like an untitled something film. So I went on set, and when I got on set, I realized that because of all the restrictions in California, they have very few people on set. So they asked me, "Hey, would you be open? We'll pay you this and this to also be like in the background of some scenes, because we're literally using everybody." Wasn't too happy about that part, but okay, I had nothing else to do. So I did that, and I was coaching an actress named Colleen Camp. She had some German lines on the film. And then on the second day, I realized what film it is, that this is David Russell. And suddenly, people from the cast were there, and those are all like superstars. So on day three, me and one friend of mine, we received a text in German. And then Colleen was, like telling everybody how much I'm helping her, how great I am for her. And she brought David Russell, and she was telling him about me. And David Russell comes, and he is like, "Oh, so you're my German guy?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Then tell me in German, Tom Brady is the greatest football player of all time." I'm like, "Tom Brady is der größte Fußballspieler of aller Zeiten." He is like, "You're hired." So we're getting this text, and a second assistant director is telling me, "So what you need to do, we'll do it tomorrow. You'll be yelling with two other guys. You'll be yelling some stuff in German. There'll be actors coming out there. They'll be on stage. You'll be under the stage. You'll be yelling some things, and they will film the reactions to it. Okay, so you'll get a contract for a day. Great." So the next day, first half of the day, nothing. We eat lunch. I come on set, and we head to the stage. It was in an old theater in downtown LA. So David Arasa is like, "Okay, so the actors will come, do your thing." All right. So the actors start coming, and it's Rami Malek, Anya Taylor-Joy, Margot Robbie, Mike Myers, David Washington, Robert De Niro, Christian Bale, Michael Shannon, Zoe Saldana, I believe, and Chris Rock. and they want me to specifically, and then they change it in the final edit because it looks like I'm only yelling at De Niro, but I was yelling at a bunch of other people. So they want me to yell at them stuff in German. So they call action, and I had this moment where it dawned on me a couple of things at the same time. It was like a split-second decision in my head. So I was very observant what's going on set. So the previous 2 days, David would change a lot of things. Like they had a script they were running, but he would tell actors to change the lines. Now say this, now say that. Now let's do it this way. Now let's change this. Now let's change that. So, he's open to improvisation. There is maybe an opportunity here. Then I also realized this is a moment, where this is kind of better than even an audition. This is the moment for you to show what you can do. So when they called action, I just yelled with like hate in an expression in everything. I just went like 120%. Scary, very scary way. And I think David looks at it and he's like, okay, now let's turn the cameras. And this shot ended up not only in the film, it ended up even in the trailer, that even ended up in a 10-second teaser for the film. And I ended up on the red carpet for the premiere, and I have a part in the film. We filmed more stuff in following days. So that was one of the most amazing moments of my career, and in some way a defining moment, because when I did that, it was almost like for an actor that was just kind of trying to find his way, trying to get anything on this big scene. That was such an inspiring moment that literally a week after that, I booked Stranger Things, and then like 2 weeks later, The Gray Man, and then Better Call Saul, and all other jobs that I did that year. But that all started with like on that day in Amsterdam, which tells you that sometimes opportunity comes when you don't expect it.
Absolutely. And then Stranger Things, of course, is like a cult favorite. How cool to have booked that right after Amsterdam, huh?
Yeah, especially that Amsterdam was so unexpected.
Right.
That was such a strange course of events that led to it, and still one of my like fun little bits that I have.
So it's like a strange thing led to Stranger Things.
Yeah, the strange thing led to even stranger things.
That really is a classic Stranger Things. And you mentioned The Gray Man too, being a part of that. What's it like being a part of that one?
So yeah, I'll start with Stranger Things. It was great because during the pandemic, there were some opportunities people didn't realize, and but also there were other very specific circumstances for that time. So with Stranger Things, they were filming in Atlanta. So I went to Atlanta, and the first 2 weeks was like, I don't know what's the best word for it, sort of a waiting period in terms of like they wanted you to be safe, separated from everybody else, and make sure being tested all the time. So once you get on set, you're not endangering other actors or
taking precautions,
like a quarantine. So that was like a quarantine for 2 weeks, paid quarantine, of course. So I was in a hotel, which led to a funny scene that sorry, to a funny scene that's like 6 weeks into me being in a hotel. I remember being in a hotel and cooking myself every day, and one time smoke, it was too much smoke, and they called me from a reception and said, we're sending someone over because we have the smoke controls going crazy. And I'm like, no, please don't. They can have COVID. They'll get me fired from the show.
Right. Yeah. It's crazy, huh?
Yeah, so it's crazy how it works. But yeah. So then we started filming, and we started filming episode 5, and then we did 6 and 7. Initially, I was supposed to be in only 2 episodes, then they added me to the 3rd episode. At least I felt that. And yeah, the amazing thing was, because of the restrictions they had on set, it was like in Amsterdam, not too many people on set, and they had different parts of Stranger Things being filmed in different locations. So I did my part, which was the Russian prison, in one studio. It was just for that storyline. So we were all in a small group of people, actors and production, in that huge studio. So there was, a lot of time to socialize, to get to become close, to talk, to get to know each other. And I still have a lot of friends from that day, both on the in cast and in production, because it was just us on set for that time. And it took like 3 weeks, I think, to film.
That's amazing. It really is. That angle is even nicer because you can see all that artwork behind you. Is that your work behind you?
It's not my work, but I'm a collector. I have a bunch of different paintings in my place. I started collecting 3 years ago. It became mm, my obsession almost. I started acquiring more and more unique um pieces, and now I have also a bunch of old paintings. The most recent one from Sir Joshua Reynolds, from 18th century masterpiece. He's one of the greatest British painters of all time, if not the greatest one. And then also George Romney, who was his great rival from that period. It's inspiring. I feel like I'm living in a museum in a way, and I want to continue to do that. That really, I was looking for something else in life that will be like a hobby, that is not, because so far before that, almost every hobby I had in my life became a job at some point. Music, sports, then acting. So I was in the need of an actual hobby, and this is my actual hobby: going to museums, collecting art, reading about art, and being inspired by art. That's something that.
It looks like you're in a beautiful room there, surrounded by lots of color and everything, huh?
Yeah, so this
Wow.
is also another interesting story. So this is from Paraguay, which is kind of my secret place that I go to every summer. For now, it will be my 3rd year. I went there during the strike for the first time. I didn't know anybody, and then I met someone. That person brought me to a museum. I found out about the guy you see up here. That I have 7 of his paintings, and the other one on the left, that's his too. Ricardo Migliorisi, who was one of the most famous Paraguayan painters, and I wanted to, and I didn't have any paintings at that time, so he was the first one I started collecting. And then, because of the gallery that I bought it from in Asuncion, Paraguay, I became friends with the gallery owner, and she knows everybody in Paraguay, including presidents. So last year, when I went there for Pinta Sud, that I was a VIP guest of at the biggest art show, art market, art festival in South America, uh, they rolled the carpet for me, and everybody was super nice, and that was incredible experience. Incredible experience.
Now, do you do any artwork yourself, and or you're a photographer, things of that nature too? Do you like to take photos when you're doing your thing?
I don't paint myself, but I do take a lot of photographs of
Yeah.
artwork, and
Yeah.
I definitely, yeah, I know more and more and more. Part of it is almost like in your DNA, because, and at the time I didn't appreciate it as much, although I liked it. So as a kid, my father wanted me to follow his footsteps. He's a pretty well-known professor of arts. So he wanted me to do the same thing, and he's actually very happy about my new hobby. That made him probably even more happy than me being Superman.
Is he in Poland?
He's right now in Poland. He was in Germany and Poland. Now he's retired in Poland. He's also director of a local museum in Wroclaw, which is my hometown.
When you mentioned you were going to leave for America, what was the feeling? Was he nervous? Was he excited? What was the family like when you said, "I'm going to go and pursue some dreams"?
Well, I was in my 30s already, so kind of I made my own decisions, made my own bed. They weren't too happy about it. I think their perception has changed when they first came to visit in 2023. They came for Christmas and stayed for New Year's, and I showed them around. places in LA. Went to Getty Museum. We went to, of course, Ocean, Santa Monica, but also Huntington Library. All those like nice places, and they really loved it here. They didn't expect that. They didn't expect so much nature too. Like you can see coyotes on my street. So they were very positively inspired, but also by kindness of people on daily basis. I think a lot of people outside of United States, they don't see that side of America. Once they come here, they realize that most of the people are really nice here, and that kindness is also what James Gunn tries to show in Superman. I think he tapped into it perfectly, and I'm not saying that just because I'm in the film. I feel like this is a very unappreciated side of being American, true American. I'm a U.S. citizen for 7 years now. I'm proud of it, and I think that's the best quality about being American is being kind to other people.
I'm right there with you. It's very, very important. Absolutely. And it's a key part of a way of living, and sharing, which I think is amazing. You talk about Poland and Germany. You actually speak over 13 languages.
I can speak in 16 different languages, but I would say I'm perfect in five, pretty good in three, four more, and I can do other languages in terms of like I know some basic words and pronunciation, and I can prepare to do that language. So those are the languages I spoke.
Which
Either on,
languages?
so I speak perfect Polish, German, Russian, Czech. I speak pretty good Spanish, Croatian, and I can do Serbian, Slovakian, Dutch, Danish, Georgian. I can do Ukrainian. I can do Lithuanian, Latvian. I did Slovenian on one of the shows, I believe. It was, I think, True Lies. Yeah, True Lies. I did Slovenian on True Lies. Yeah, and I did Norwegian also on something.
It probably comes in handy too, being an actor,
Yes,
right? Yeah. Huh?
yes, yeah. You see, I had a decision to make when I got here, and it's the same with auditioning. It's good to take a big swing in auditioning, and I'll tell why it's relatable to languages. It's good to take a big swing with your auditioning, and sometimes you might be very wrong with your take for the part, but all that matters is getting the job, right? It's making something so original that you do it differently than everybody else, and they're like, oh, this is the guy. So you can also do 100 very good auditions and be 100 out of 100, and this is good, but that's not it. It's not enough. So would you rather have five extraordinary that gives you jobs, or just 100 good ones that don't give you a job? You see, the same with my attitude towards languages. A lot of actors who come, let's say, from Eastern Europe, they come here, and the first thing they do, they take accent reduction classes, which for people from Germany or Poland or Russia is extremely difficult. But you have to ask yourself a question. And down the road, I want to get it down. Down the road, I want to be able to switch to American accent and British accent. That's next on my kind of that's the next thing that I want to try in the next 5 years. But if they're coming here from all those different countries and they try to be more American than Americans, that's not going to happen. At least it will take a lot of time. So why not embrace the fact that you come from a different country and you can speak this language, another language, and then you add to it and you speak the languages that are kind of similar. So when the roles when the role comes, like in Superman, and that was my third time doing Croatian. I did Croatian on The Hunt, my first big movie in 2019, and I did it on a video game, and now I did it on Superman. So it becomes handy, and then you have those clips, and they will get you
Mhm.
more work in that language.
Absolutely. You are talking about the video games too. Very involved in the video game world too, with your voice and using your voice and Call of Duty and that franchise as well, which is That's a huge franchise to be a part of. You're in Warzone and also Modern Warfare. How did that happen to be, when you're involved and associated with video games and animation, especially a franchise like Call of Duty, and your voice is on there? That's got to be something really cool. And it's a very competitive area, so to be selected and be a part of it is fantastic.
Yeah, 100%. And I feel like that was the first time in my life that I got like real fans, like real fan base. Was after doing Krueger on Call of Duty. I was quite shocked because I never played those games before I actually did the game. I didn't play it once when I got the job through my voiceover agent. I did my take on that character, and they hired me, and they kept rehiring me for almost 5 years after that. The first initial run was a lot of sessions, a lot of dialogue. As a matter of fact, some fan, and not only one, they posted my voice lines. They took my voice lines from the game, and they posted it on YouTube, and I think it got like millions of views together, and like thousands of comments. Like this character was very beloved character, but beloved for almost wrong reason because he was a really bad person. Krueger is a killer. Krueger is mean. He speaks German or with German accent, and his one-liners are like really nasty because he's the guy who people use to to do some killings in the game, I guess. But he has got this like dark persona too, because his face is covered on in the video game. But for whatever reason, people love him, and they played him a lot. And it was the first time I got a lot of fans till this day who are following me on social media. I got like a big boost on my on my Instagram from that for sure. Suddenly like all those people started following me and asking
Hmm.
questions and asking, can you wish me happy birthday with the Kruger's voice?
With the voice, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah. And I
you
did
know,
it a few times. I should have charged for that. I
oh,
did it a few times. But like I didn't like. It's like like I'll tell you this. I'm maybe old school with that. But if I feel like a studio is hiring me to do something, to do a job, I try to be grateful for that.
mm,
I remember I was contacted several times by another voice actor who did a different character on the game, and he like milked it. He would run like paid sessions online, make autograph sessions, and he came to me with an offer of doing a camp of actors who are in the game fighting each other, and people would pay for it, and as like an entry fee, and we all make income on that. And I declined, and I learned that he only did one Call of Duty because of that. So the people from the company doing Call of Duty, they didn't quite appreciate the fact that he was
mm.
doing a lot of that on his own. I felt like I would rather be hired by them again, and just focus on that.
Absolutely right. Yeah. Again, just a great franchise to be a part of. Now, you got
Yeah, I'll
the,
tell you what. I'll tell you one more story. So,
yeah.
so during the pandemic, the first couple of months of pandemic, I think it was like June 2020, they still had to do the Warzone because it was on their schedule. And of course, nothing was open. Everything was shut down. They sent me to my apartment a booth in pieces, right? Which I couldn't open the package for 48 hours. I think that was like those were the rules. So there was a package. I would put it in a safe place for 48 hours. Then I open it. I would be on Zoom with a technician. They will tell me how to assemble a booth out of it, and then put all the, microphones and all the wires and everything. And I would do sessions from that booth from the middle of my apartment, live with someone else who had another booth at home, who was a technician on the session, and then someone else was listening to it like a producer. And that's how I did some of my work as Krueger on Warzone, which is kind of funny looking back because it feels like you're like in a third world country almost, but that was just all the restrictions regarding with the pandemic.
How cool they sent you a booth, because those booths are those are expensive. I
Yeah, and
mean,
I didn't know what to do with it. I'm not a technician. I'm not very good with that, with assembling things.
now there are those super fans who love the video games, like you say, Call of Duty and others. And then there are the soap opera fans, the daytime drama fans who are very
Mhm.
popular. And you were on Days of Our Lives and also on General Hospital
Yeah.
as well. Tell us about being a part of the soaps. Everybody has always said when you are on the soap operas, because of the amount of dialogue, the pages and pages of scripts, and just the shooting hours and everything else, if you survive the daytime dramas, the soap operas, you're ready for just about anything else because it's so intensive. What was it like being on Days of Our Lives and General Hospital?
The biggest surprise for me, and I start with that, on General Hospital, was being directed by the guy that I admired as a musician. I didn't know until I left, and then it hit me, and somebody confirmed that the guy named with a nickname Fidu, who is a legend of progressive rock. He's also director on General Hospital. That was one of the biggest shocks in my entire life. That was like really shocking to me, that the guy who directed me on General Hospital is the guy that I listened to for years as a musician. So that was completely unexpected. But other than that, yeah, like you mentioned, 12 pages of dialogue to prepare, and with General Hospital, because I shot it in 2023, so I kind of knew already how this world works. But Days of Our Lives, that came to me when was just starting. Well, one of my first roles. My first role, I think, was on the last ship on TNT. Then it was on a show called Startup in Puerto Rico, where I had a chance to work with Eddie Gattegui, who is now Mr. Terrific on Superman. So, you run into those people again in your career, in your lives. That's a cool thing about Rachel Brosnan. I worked on Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. Now she's Lois Lane on Superman. So this is the fun part. But going back to Days of Our Lives, I still remember I showed up on set. I had like 11 pages of dialogue to do. So I show up to my room at 9 a.m. Around 11, I go to the front and ask the lady that was leading the set, and I asked her, "Oh, what time do you think we'll get to my scene?" She's like, "Oh, in about 30 minutes, 35 minutes." So I go back again, 11:30, and I ask her this time a different question. What time you think we'll finish here today? She's like, "Oh, we have to be wrapped by noon." So I'm like, "Oh, that means I'm not working today." And she's like, "Oh no, you'll be on set 11:50." So I went there for the last 10 minutes. We did one take, and everybody went home.
Just like that.
And just like that.
Just
And
like
then
that.
see you tomorrow. And tomorrow we did another
Another 10
10 pages
pages
of another scene. So
of another
yeah.
scene,
So that
right?
was quite an experience for me. Quite an adjustment for sure. Yeah.
You mentioned Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. What was that like being a part of that? That's another great one.
One of my favorite experiences, especially that I kind of rediscovered New York in the process. I used to go to New York a lot to do my NBA broadcasting and writing in early 2000s. I went there several times, and I didn't go until I moved to the United States at all. And in 2022, I booked Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. I did a table read. After the table reads, Rachel Brosnan came to me and she welcomed me on the set of Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, which was super nice and super kind. And then I had the chance to work with the entire family. We did an iconic scene in this long, long iconic scene in the last show, in the last season of the show. I ran into Paladinos 2 months ago. They were promoting their latest show in LA, in a very nice house in Hollywood Hills. Was like a little dinner slash screening, and I talked to them, and they mentioned it's one of their favorite scenes on the show. Um, so being back in New York for a week, being in Brooklyn for a week, I loved it. I really loved it. I really want to work in New York as much as possible. I like the vibe. This is in a way more of my personality, I would say, even. comparing to LA, which I love because I live here from the longest in my life, and I have a lot of friends here. But I would say I like the lifestyle, I like the pace of New York, probably better.
And the and maybe it makes you feel a little bit at home because the East Coast still has a lot of European influence. You can see it in the names of the towns and the cities. Have a lot of, you know, there's just a lot of European influence on the East Coast,
Yeah.
and it probably gives you some feelings like, especially Brooklyn, some maybe just connection to home, just the real nature of it all, the authenticity. People, tell it like it is. There's no real facades or anything, so you're kind of like you feel at home.
Yeah, and it snows sometimes too. That's
And the
even more at
pizza's
home.
pretty good too.
That's true. And pizza, I didn't believe that. I didn't believe that hype. But once I tried some local pizza in Brooklyn from for like 2.75 for a slice. Oh my goodness, that was the best pizza I had in my life. It's better than in Italy. People say Italian pizza is the best. No, New York pizza is better.
New York is really good.
The best.
Another very popular series, Better Call Saul, and to be involved in that. How did that happen?
Yeah, that was another fun one. In Albuquerque, in New Mexico, I was. It's that's why I believe that I'll end up on James Bond movie at some point because I have a tendency to really bring things to fruition just by thinking about it and by manifesting it. In 2020, I told myself when the pandemic started, I want to be on Stranger Things, Better Call Saul, and Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. Those were the three shows that I really wanted to get on, and I did. Then it was Superman, and I did. So now it's James Bond. Better Call Saul was fun. I remember working with Tony Dalton, and he was the main villain on the show. We had a scene when he comes back to the show. It shows up in this place in Germany, and I happened to work there at the bar. So we talked with Tony on set quite a bit, and he, interestingly enough, because he's a very successful actor who works a lot in the United States, he loves Mexico City so much, and I've never been, and I need to go, and I want to go, that he still lives in Mexico City. He doesn't want to move to LA. He flies back and forth.
That's amazing. I hope he has frequent flyer miles too, as he does that. Do you get back to Europe? Are you able to go back and forth to see family or anybody? Do you get back and forth?
I want to go back more often. I want to go
Yeah.
back more often. I didn't, especially in the time of pandemic. I had a long break, like 3 year, almost 3 year break.
Mm, yeah.
Partially because of the restrictions,
The world
partially because
stopped. Yeah.
I got very very busy with work, and
Yeah.
that was a good busy too. So so
Very, very
so
busy.
so so in 2021. I remember I went after the full year of working, and that was a very refreshing. That was a very very refreshing trip. And at this point, my mom and dad didn't see me for 3 years, and I didn't tell them I'm coming. So I remember I rang into our family house, and they're, who is there? And I changed my voice and I said the mailman, and I regretted it later because my mom almost had a heart attack when she saw me
She
for the first
probably,
time in three
yeah.
years.
I
Yeah, yeah,
can imagine, right? Huh?
yeah, yeah.
Wow.
But
So
I want to work in Europe. I've never worked in Europe. I want to work in Europe. And now there's, because of the stuff I did here, there's definitely more interest in me as an actor. It's started recently. Like I can feel people are noticing, even in Poland or Germany, that I'm doing well, that I'm doing big projects that people are watching all around the world. So for the first time in my life, I'm starting to get some interest from international markets.
which is
And if
wonderful.
there's which is wonderful. Listen, like Hollywood in the United States is still my main place, my main spot. It's where I live and where I work. But I would like to do a good project, a good lead or supporting lead role on a European or South American film. Definitely, 100%.
Well, that may happen too. We have an international audience. We have a lot of folks, North America, South America, Europe, Africa, Asia, that Australia that watch our show too. And I'm sure a lot of people, we've got comments coming in from people too that recognize you from a lot of these great shows. You were even playing with this guy on
Yeah,
Young Sheldon too on CBS.
what a great guy. Oh my goodness.
How cool to be on that show, huh?
That was so much fun. The guy was absolutely amazing. He's just the actor is just like the young Sheldon in the show. That's who he is. Like he just is that character. He speaks different languages. We had our scenes in German, and we spoke Russian in between takes because I think his grandma is from Russia. His father was like he was telling me all those stories. His father was like a lead like an officer of counterintelligence or something. He would go to those different countries, or like a diplomat, if I remember correctly, and so he was learning all those languages as a kid, and he speaks so many different languages. But also, this guy was so much fun to be around, and was doing a lot of little gimmicks on set. Like one time, I remember I'm coming back after lunch, and there is this little area where they make coffee, and I go there to ask for coffee, but instead of the guy making coffee, it's him, and he's like, "I'm gonna make you a coffee," and he did, make me the a wonderful cup of coffee. And yeah, what a great guy, and what a great show too. I'm so happy that I was on it. I was a big fan of the show before I even got on the show. It's another one from the list that I mentioned before that I really wanted to be on, and it happened. And I'm very happy because it's like with Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and especially with Young Sheldon and Superman. Those are like a feel good shows and
Absolutely.
films
They really
with the
are.
right vibe, with the right values, with the right message.
Exactly right. Absolutely. So many great things that you're a part of too. And we're talking about Superman and being a part of Superman, which is, out now, folks. This is exciting, the Superman franchise, and he's in it. What are some fun memories and moments that you have from shooting and being on set? I'm sure, there's moments that stand out for you.
So many moments. I would say the one thing that, and I think you can see it in the film, and you can see it from photos and videos that are being posted by cast members and by James himself and people involved with the film. The one thing that strikes everybody is an absolutely true thing. It's not fake. It's not made up for the promotional marketing. It's how much fun everybody had doing that. It's by far the most fun I ever had on set, and the atmosphere was absolutely like relaxed, joyful, jokey, and at the same time we're moving so fast. Like he was so prepared. He knew exactly what he wanted to do, and we would go like two takes of a scene, then the third take where he would change one or two details, and then the next setup and the next scene. We were moving so fast. I wasn't used to that type of pace in terms of comparing to other big films I worked on, like Greyman or Amsterdam, or especially Red Notice, or The Hunt. So that was by far the fastest pace I've seen on a big budget movie, but it all made sense. He knew exactly what he wanted, and he would give those like very specific directions. Let's say the scene where after the press conference, you know, I go with the president, and then he goes to see Lex Luthor, and I lead him through the corridor, and I say all those things, the flattering things that I'm pretty much trying to, you know, kiss his. Hmm? I opened the door, and I remember on the third take. James tells me, "Don't look into his eyes. Look into the ground. Avoid eye contact." And then you watch the film. It makes perfect sense. That's a complete obedience. That shows you the complete obedience of his main general, his right hand. That he doesn't even look into his eyes. He's afraid to look into his eyes. So those little things, they create so much backstory for the character. And the last day, I remember when we filmed the sequence with stunts with Cold Girl. By the way, Isabella Merced, what a wonderful human being. We were very friendly on set. We talked a lot, and she's absolutely wonderful person, not just a great actress, I would say an up and coming superstar, and she'll be in this business for a long time, but she also has a huge heart. This girl is an absolutely wonderful human being. And we're doing this scene, and of course I'm with Zlatko Buric, who plays the president, and he grew up in Eastern Europe too, in Croatia. Now he lives in Denmark. So we started talking about Polish movies of 70s and 80s, especially directors like Andrew Wajda, Krzysztof Kieślowski, and Krzysztof Zanussi. Those are the legendary directors from Poland, as well as Roman Polanski and maybe a few others. So we talked about that golden period of Polish cinema, and I think at some point James even got interested, like, what are you guys talking about? And we, every break between takes, we talked about that.
That's really cool. And it's so beautifully shot too, right? I mean, they really spared no expense in putting this together and really keeping true to, the character. Superman, like Spider-Man, like many others, it's a beloved character that's been a part of our lives for so many years.
Mhm.
So to be a part of something like that, you must have been pinching yourself too to be a part of Superman, huh?
Yeah, and it all felt real. Everything felt 100% real because like all the scenes I did, all of them were real. There's no CGI, nothing. It's, of course, like when you see the is a a whole girl flying in and killing those people, and then taking the president and jumping through the window. Of course, like there were moments where they had to make some corrections digitally, but we shot it in real time. Like there was Isabella was on wires. She was flying in, and her stand double was flying in. That wasn't done on a green screen. That really happened in an actual set. They filmed it. So he was very true to the filmmaking process and true to the comics at the same time, where there were so many different comic book based characters on different films in the last 10 years. And I've watched, as a part of preparation for Superman, I've watched all of them. Once I've figured out this is the film I'm doing, I watched every single Superman movie, some of them twice. And I liked all of them, but for different reasons. Like, for example, the last two Superman movies were good movies before this one. Those were good movies that I enjoyed, but I'm not sure I enjoyed them as Superman movies. They were interesting, kind of darker, more existential. But till this day, I have no idea why Superman was fighting Batman. Why did that happen? Still don't understand that. It was an interesting film. It's not a
Right.
bad film at all. But I think what James did with his Superman, he brought it back to the character he is. That is the Superman character,
Mm-hmm.
who
Yeah.
is a superhero, but he's human. He has feelings. He tries to do the right thing. You know,
Yeah.
that's his code. Those are his values, and I think that he put emphasis on those values that make him human, that make him one of us. A little bit different. He's got all the superpowers. He can fly, but to humanize him, I think was the right move. And I'm not saying that because I was in the movie. I was really inspired by that, by the message of the film.
I would imagine your family back home, when they, know that you're in Superman and just all these different incredible movies and shows, they must be very proud and very excited for you.
Yeah, it took a while. It took a while. I don't think they were very happy that I was leaving my job in Poland and a comfortable life and jumping into unknown. But I think now they appreciate what I'm doing more than what I did before because, yeah, my dad wasn't happy when I was a sports writer. Him being a professor of history of arts and being in the arts world, me being a sports writer was a pain for him, for sure. So he's very happy that I made that switch.
Well, if he sees this now, he'll be very happy to see all the art on the wall behind you.
Yeah, no, he saw some of that when he was here.
You
Not all
did,
of
yeah.
that because some of that I bought after he left. But yeah, 100%.
What else do you have coming up that you're excited about, Martin? Maybe projects, things that you're looking to do, or things you'd like to do coming up in the future?
So I did a short film a couple of months ago that was written by a son of the creator of The Simpsons, where I played lead role of a butterfly in rehab. It's a kind of a dark comedy, but I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed building the lead character. So moving forward, I definitely wanna do more like lead roles, more roles, substantial, complicated, complex roles. I think that Superman gave me the final boost of confidence that I can grow even more as an actor. But I'm also ready to do more. I feel like this is the moment where I want to take it to the next level in my acting for sure.
Well, you've accomplished so much already. And I like the fact that you've got the broadcast background. That's my background too, television and radio and film and writing and producing and all of it. And so I'm right there with you, understanding that. And you're a published author as well, and a brilliant actor, and you're bringing your skill set to all of these characters and all of these great shows, from the voice on animated and
Hmm.
video games to daytime dramas to night shows, evening dramas and specials and films. And it's just really, really cool. And we look forward to seeing and hearing more of you, Martin. You are,
Yeah, I just want to mention that it only happened to me once in my acting career where I played a reporter, but that was an interesting experience working on Staircase and playing a very annoying reporter, and that's another example because, like I said, on Superman, I got more scenes that I was initially planned for, and he kept everything from my footage in the film, which is very rewarding and also vote of confidence from James Gunn that he really he really had everything I shot in the film, in the final version of the film. But I was also booked for one little scene, and then ended up doing two longer scenes on the show Staircase with Colin Firth, where I played a reporter from Germany that is a very annoying reporter that runs after him
right. I remember.
and does all this like really low level reporting stuff. And that was a lot of fun because as a reporter I was a very, very ethical, very put together, very fair, very professional. And here I had a chance to be one of those guys that I despised when I used to do this job. And that was so much fun to do, to jump into that. Yeah.
To be a part of that.
To
You,
be
you
a really, really, really like a reporter with no bone, so to
Right,
speak.
exactly. It really sounds like you've been jumping in and diving in headfirst to everything you've been doing, which is really quite exciting, Martin. Congratulations on all of these things that you've been a part of, and transitioning from the sports writer broadcaster, which you'll always have in your heart, and you never know, you may end up doing that again. We may see you on ESPN or
No,
CBS report. You
I
never
think
know.
that part. I think that part. I had a good time doing that. I think
How
that
many
part
years
is
did you do that?
altogether 20. I would say.
20 years? Wow.
Yeah, yeah. I think if I do something else moving forward, it'd probably be more art related than
Yeah, it
sports related.
seems like you have that.
And I'll tell you why. And it's funny when I thought about it. Like recently, I had those kind of thoughts 2 3 weeks ago. I enjoy playing basketball more than ever, really, or playing soccer with friends. But like I find it hard to relate to 20-year-olds watching, and like it would be hard for me to imagine going, let's say, to a professional soccer game, basketball game, and run after 20-year-old athletes and asking them questions and trying to be buddies with them. I think like when I was in my 20s and they were in their 20s, and there was certain camaraderie because we were the same age and we same upbringing, that kind of felt more natural for me. That would be kind of really strange if I had to do it right now. I don't think I could. I don't think I could do the same job anymore.
You're exactly right. That was a part of your
Yeah,
career and a part of your
yeah. When I
life.
was younger, when I was
Right,
younger.
where you can run to, you'd have to fly on the back of Superman to get there as they're going, right?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Superman would get there first for sure.
Yes,
Yeah.
Superman would get there first. A real pleasure, Martin, and I appreciate your stopping by the Jim Masters Show series and sharing the excitement of Superman, but also talking about all these other great productions, television shows, and films you've been a part of. And obviously, this has been a journey of yours that has been in the making and continues to be and continues to blossom. And thanks for stopping by the show and sharing all of this with us. And of course, you have IMDb, and he's on socials. You can follow him there as well. And a real
Yes, please.
pleasure. And I hope that you enjoy the time with me as much as I have with you.
Jim, I enjoyed it so much. Thank you so much for having me. You're a legend, and it's been a pleasure. I'm humbled by being on the show.
The pleasure is all mine. Come back and see us again. Keep us
We'll love it.
posted on all the cool things you're working on. Spread the word about the Jim Masters Show. We'll continue to spread the word about you as well. And I really appreciate your generosity of time too.
Very grateful for having me, and all the best with the show and in your professional career.
I appreciate that. And I just want to let the audience know he really is a pro and he is a trooper. He's been talking and talking and talking for hours and hours the last couple of days. And, you know, his throat, you know, it wears out. I know I've had it happen with me too, but here he is. He's a trooper. He showed up. He's here for our show, for all of you. Now he's going to go gargle, but he made it through and he's a pro, and we really appreciate you doing that, my friend.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. You be well. Thanks
I'll
again.
try. Thank you.
Thanks, Martin. Martin Harris joining us here on the show from Los Angeles, California, a prolific television and film actor extraordinaire. Great background talking about being an international sports writer, broadcaster, and author of 2 basketball-related books, meeting Kobe Bryant, getting inspired by Kobe Bryant as well, and transitioning into acting and turning it all into real gold. You know, all of these incredible things he's been a part of. Really extraordinary, huh? And now Superman. He's in Superman, which is really, really exciting. And that is a fantastic film, a James Gunn film. It is brand new. And if you haven't seen it, comes to us from DC Studios. Check it out. You're going to love it. It's really a good one, folks. And he's got a couple of really good scenes in it. But again, he was on General Hospital, Days of Our Lives. He worked on Young Sheldon, and you know him from all the voice work on the Call of Duty franchise. There's video games. A lot of the Call of Duty fans out there know that too. And Better Call Saul, which is fantastic. And Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. And these are just a few of the many. Of course, The Gray Man too, we talked about as well. And Amsterdam. He talks so highly of Amsterdam and being a part of that with the amazing crew of people. Robert De Niro too, who he's always admired. That really too, the IMAX, that was really something special. But Superman, again, happening right now. Here's another great shot of him doing his thing. Another cool shot. Lots of great headshots too he's got. Yeah, good stuff. Martin Harris. Maybe this is the first time you're hearing of him. That's great. Maybe you've been following his work for years. Now you know a little bit more about him and why he does what he does and the ups and downs of it all and what it really takes to make the magic as he does and continues to do. Martin Harris here on the Jim Masters Show, Entertainment Lifestyle Celebrity Talk Show series. We thank him for being here. We also thank you. Drop a comment below if you enjoyed this episode and maybe some of the great shows you've seen him in. Maybe you've seen Superman recently and you saw him in the various roles he's in, or Better Call Saul, or any of these other productions. Let us know. Maybe you're a big Call of Duty fan and you love Krueger. You love his voice as that character as well, that famous character. Whatever the case may be, drop a comment, let us know. And of course, we would love it if you give this episode a thumbs up like. Yeah, there's a like button there. Click the up one, the one that's where the thumb is up. Up with the Jim Masters Show. Share this link from our YouTube channel right on your social media. Spread the word. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. That's where this episode is and all the episodes, hundreds of them. And also, don't forget to leave a comment below. We love that. Thanks for all the great comments, everybody. We appreciate everybody watching around the world. And don't forget to drop a comment here as well. It's always a pleasure to have you here. I'm your host, Jim Masters. Thanking you for your time this time. Till next time, we will keep the porch light on for you too as well right here at the Jim Masters Show. Be well, everybody. Thanks for watching all around the world. Interact with us. Leave a comment. Like, comment, subscribe. And we'll see you on the next one. More great shows coming up here on JMS. the Jim Masters Show. Be well, everybody, and cheers.